In this tutorial, we're going to review EBIT and EBITDA. First, what do they stand for? EBIT stands for earnings before interest and taxes. EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. These are both cash flow metrics used by financial analysts to evaluate the profitability of companies. How do we calculate EBIT and EBITDA? EBIT is calculated as net income plus interest plus taxes. Alternatively, you can start with revenue and subtract operating expenses. Just make sure not to subtract interest and taxes. EBIT is also known as operating income. What's the significance of operating income? Operating income shows the profitability from a company's operations, not including finance considerations such as interest or taxes, which is not an operating expense. Let's move on to EBITDA. EBITDA is calculated as net income plus interest plus taxes plus depreciation and amortization. Alternatively, you could start with revenue and don't subtract interest, taxes, and D&A. What's the significance of EBITDA? EBITDA is EBIT adding back D&A, or operating income adding back D&A. Since D&A is a non-cash expense, financial analysts like to add it back. However, there is an issue with that. Even though D&A is non-cash, it is derived from capital expenditures, which is a true expense, which is a true cash outlay. For that reason, many investors such as Warren Buffett don't like using EBITDA as a cash flow metric. Another important question. If you don't see D&A on the income statement, does the company have D&A? Yes, the company still has D&A, and it's just buried in another line item on the income statement, maybe cost of sales or some other operating expense item. So what do you do to get the D&A? You go to the statement of cash flows in the cash flows from operations section, and you could add it back from there. What is meant by adjusted EBITDA? Adjusted EBITDA takes EBITDA one step further and adds back certain items that a company doesn't feel reflects its true cash flow, such as the restructuring charge. Note that this is a company-specific adjustment, and for that reason, it may not be that reliable, but it is still widely used by companies and financial analysts. Let's look at a couple of examples here. One from Dave & Buster's and one from Facebook. Let's calculate both of those companies' EBIT and EBITDA. Here I have the 10K for Dave & Buster's. Let's start with the EBIT. EBIT is just going to be equal to income from operations. And that's operating income here. It's 148,079. I don't really have to do much to get a company's EBIT. Let's next go to EBITDA. For EBITDA, I could just take the operating income and add back D&A, 132,460. So I could take the EBIT and add back D&A, and that's the easiest way to get EBITDA. Another way to calculate EBITDA is starting with net income, and I could do it this way also, 100,263,000, and add back interest, that's 2937, add back taxes, and add back D&A. And you'll see that our answer is the same. So either you can start with operating income and add back D&A, or you could start with net income and add back interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Let's do the same thing for Facebook. I have Facebook's latest 10Q open, and I'm going to the income statement, and it's very easy to calculate their operating income because it's its own line item here. So that's the company's EBIT. Next, let's calculate their EBITDA. And I look here and I don't see D&A anywhere. Cost of revenue, R&D, marketing and sales, G&A, it's not there. So where is it? I scroll down to the cash flow statement. In cash flows from operating activities, I can see D&A right there, 1597. So I'm going to take that plus 1597, and that's my EBITDA. Again, like we did for Dave & Buster's, you could have started with net income, adding back taxes, adding back interest and other expense, and then adding back D&A, and you would get to the same answer. In summary, EBIT and EBITDA are cash flow metrics used by financial analysts, and they're not too difficult to calculate from a company's financial statements, as we showed with a couple of examples here.